A possible attack on Hawaii by China and Russia. The unrest in Eswatini has Taiwan written on it. China's claim over Taiwan seems to become a global threat. Military exercises 200 miles off the Hawaiian coast, a Japanese official warning the U.S. of an attack by China and Russia, an attempt to overthrow the government in the Kingdom of Eswatini, may be very much related. Is Hawaii threatened by a possible surprise attack by Russia and China over Taiwan? The Kingdom of Eswatini is in a state of chaos after a mob of foreign insurgents is trying to overthrow the kingdom. This also may very well be related to the China-Taiwan conflict. The U.S. has maintained a friendly relationship and provided weaponry to help Taiwan. Eswatini is the only African country with diplomatic relations to Taiwan. No surprise the U.S. built a giant embassy in the small kingdom of fewer than 2 million people. Just 2 weeks ago, U.S. Raptor fighter jets had to take off to control a Russian exercise in the waters close to the U.S. Pacific state of Hawaii. We have to show the deterrence towards China, and not just China but also the Russians, because, as I told you, that they are doing their exercises together, Japanese Deputy Minister of Defense Yasuhide Nakayama told the Hudson Institute this week. He explained. If you look at the news from Zvezda, which is a Russian report, the news from the Russian military, they are actually exercising right in front of Honolulu. And there are battleships, nuclear submarines, and big airplanes. And they are really exercising just right in front of the western part of Honolulu. I don't want to remind 70 years ago Pearl Harbor was attacked by surprise. We have to be careful of such military training missions by the Russians. It's no accident, the Russians selected the place, the western side of Honolulu, Hawaii. In Hawaii, there is the 7th U.S. Fleet, and also PACOM is headquartered in Hawaii. A Russian spy ship is anchored just north of Oahu, Hawaii, according to a report by this publication. The White House, the United States government, also made a comment about Hong Kong. Taiwan's vulnerability to an invasion from mainland China has become a preoccupation of Indo-Pacific strategists in recent months, as Chinese Communist forces escalate their military drills around the island. Nakayama, who was unusually frank about the need for democratic nations to ensure Taiwan's survival, implied that Russia and China are working as allies preparing for a major conflict with the United States. The Taiwanese are really concerned. They're focusing on the two big countries collaborating and presenting a lot of threat towards Taiwan. Chinese Communist officials regard Taiwan as a renegade province, one that they have claimed since coming to power in 1949 but never governed. Most countries recognize the regime in Beijing as the official Chinese government and do not have formal diplomatic relations with Taiwan, although the U.S. has maintained a friendly relationship and provided weaponry to help Taiwanese authorities deter an invasion from the mainland. We have to protect Taiwan as a democratic country, the Japan Deputy Defense Minister Nakayama. This may be exactly the reason that on the other side of the globe, in the tiny kingdom of Eswatini with 1.3 million people, the U.S. has one of the largest embassies in the world. Eswatini is the only country in Africa recognizing Taiwan as a country. The United States seems to have an interest in this situation. China is angry and may be behind the current unrest and overthrow attempts in Eswatini. Former Foreign Minister for Zimbabwe, Walter Mzembe, provided background to eTurboNews earlier this week in an article entitled, "Eswatini Caught Between China and Taiwan." A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin described the Japanese statement on a possible attack on Hawaii as extremely dangerous and also took offense in Japan calling Taiwan a country. He said, "We ask Japan to make crystal clarification that Taiwan is not a country, and ensure that such things won't happen again." Nakayama emphasized that tensions in the Indo-Pacific region have a direct bearing on American security, especially in light of coordination between China and Russia. He drove home the point by reminding of the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor 70 years ago, which provoked the U.S. military intervention in the Second World War. Russian officials described their missile and artillery firings in the Pacific as an equipment check. For Nakayama, such operations make clear that Japan and the U.S. have a common problem that needs to be deterred jointly. U.S. and Japanese leaders say they will bolster their tools to combat threats from China and North Korea, including Beijing's aggressive posture toward Taiwan, as the Biden administration tries to establish a presence in the region.